origin of English language in former colonial Africa. You see, despite several centuries of European trade with African nations, by the end of the 18th century, only the Dutch at the Cape Town had established a permanent settlement. We have heard, we have known the history of African continent and African nations. Many people came in this area. Many, actually, the European colonial power, they came to make business, and the uh, main business just to catch black people from this area, deport them to America and the other part of this country as slave. That is the business. But at the um, end of the 18th century, we see that only the Dutch people established their settlement in Cape Town. Okay. However, in 1914, Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Italy, and Belgium had resulted in the whole continent, apart from Liberia and Ethiopia, being divided into colonial territories. In European power, the British, French, German, Portugal, Italy, Belgium, this country came in this area, and they scattered in this area in African nations. They were not uh, in all nation. In few nation, British colonial power occupied the position in, and vice versa. And some countries, France and Germany, we see they got the power. After the two world wars, there was a repatriationing of the region with the confiscation of the German and the Italian territories. So we see that German and Italy, in the first and second war, Germany and Italy, they were defeated. So the nation which were occupied by Germany and Italy, these countries were divided to the other countries like Britain, France, and Portugal. Okay. Most of the countries achieved independence in or after the 1960 decades. So from 1945, Germany and Italy declined their power for the cause of losing in the Second World War. But after 90 decades, all the nations living in this African continent, they got independence. And the Organization of African Unity pleased itself to maintain existing boundaries, and they established boundaries. And our organization was established, the Organization of African Unity. That was established in 1963 in Addis Ababa. And there, 32 African governments and nations signed. One of the main heads of the EU was established, that is, that was Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. So in 1963, 32 nations of Africa continent, they made a treaty and they signed as the Organization of African Unity. English began to visit West Africa from the end of the 15th century. So if we get the country-wise history, then in West Africa, western part of Africa, English came began to visit in this area soon after at the end of the 15th century, and reference to the use of the language as the lingua franca in some coastal settlement. So from the end of the 15th century, in western part of African continent, English has become the common language for communication. By the beginning of the 19th century, the increase in commerce and anti-slave trade activities had brought English to the whole West African continent, especially for the cause of the slave trade and also for increasing commerce and international trade and commerce. English became the main language in this West African coast. With hundreds of local languages to connect with, a particular feature of the region was the rise of several English-based pidgin and creoles used alongside the standard varieties of colonial officials, missionaries, soldiers, and the traders. We know that the pidgin and the creole is not the complete language, it is the fragmented form. Suppose if we see that pidgin English, then means the some words are picked up from pidgin language, some words are picked up from creole language, that can make a, um, minimum communication between the English speaking people and the African nations. Apart from the official language, this pidgin English had been using in this area. British varieties developed especially in the 5 countries, each of which now gives English official status. We have also learned that 32 countries signed in the Organization of African Unity. Among these 5 countries, they use English as their first language, official language. There was also an American influence in this region as well. So you see this country here, the people use English language. Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, Chad. So these are the countries. Apart from that, we see the case of Sierra Leone. You know, it's a very big country, Sierra Leone. In 1780 decades, philanthropists in Britain brought the land to establish a settlement for freed slaves. The first group arrived from England, Nova Scotia, and Jamaica. At that time, there was a tendency of freeing the slave, and the slave who were freed, they were deported in Sierra Leone. We have also heard that in Australia, the criminals, prisoners were deported, but in Sierra Leone, especially the slave who were free from their honor in America or in the other parts of this world, these free slaves were collected by a philanthropist, British philanthropist, and they were deported to Sierra Leone. And the people were, these slaves were freed from England, Nova Scotia, and Jamaica. The settlement became a crown colony in 1808 and was then used as a base for the anti-slave trading squadron, whose operation eventually brought some 60,000 recaptives to the country. In this way, the Sierra Leone got the slave who were free from England, Nova Scotia, that means Canada, and Jamaica. The chief form of communication was an English-based Creole, and this rapidly spread along the West African coast. The hinterland was declared a British protectorate in 1896, and the country received its independence in 1961. Its population had grown over 5.4 million by 2020, most of whom can use Cryo. Cryo is an English-based Creole language in Sierra Leone. It is the first language of about 3 lakhs and 50,000 people and is used as a lingua franca by over 3 million people. So Cryo is used in Sierra Leone. And we have got the history that the slave who got freedom from their English master, they were deported in Sierra Leone. And in this regard, we see that some 60,000 slaves were deported in this area. And many of them especially use English Creole. And apart from the English Creole, they use a language, this English Creole, it is called Cryo. So most of the people living in Sierra Leone is a English-based Creole or Pidgin language. Its name is Cryo. Next, move on to Ghana. And formerly, this name is Gold Coast. Following a successful British expedition against the Ashanti to protect trading interest, the southern Gold Coast was declared a crown colony in 1774. Just like India, the Gold Coast came under the British Crown colony in 1874. The modern state was created in 1957 by the union of this colony and the adjacent British Togoland Crust territory, which had been mandated to Britain after World War I. Ghana achieved independence in 1957. Its population was nearly 19 million in 2002 and about 1.5 million of whom use English as their second language. This is the history of Ghana. And you see the map of Ghana. Ghana achieved independence in 1957. Its population was, we have read that, Ashanti, a member of a people of South Central Ghana. And the dialect of Akan is spoken by Ashanti. And Crown Colony, the British legislative colony, is called Crown Colony. Next, let us move on to Gambia. Gambia, English trading along the Gambia rivers dated from the early 17th century. A period of conflicts with France was followed in 1816 by the establishment of the Bathurist modern Banjul as a British base of anti-slavery activities. The capital became Crown Colony in 1843. The country, an independent member of the Commonwealth in 1965 and a republic in 1970. It had a population of about 1.4 million in 2002. Cryo is a widely used as a lingua franca in Gambia. And same scenario is we see in Cameroon also. Cameroon here, this is explored by Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, and British. These 4 colonial European countries came Cameroon to rule. This region became a German protectorate in 1884 and was divided between France and Britain in 1919. After some uncertainty, the two areas merged as a single country in 1972, with both French and English remaining as official language. In case of Cameroon, we see the 2 official languages, one English and another one French. It is also a highly multilingual region with a 2002 population, nearly 16 million. It is thus a country in which contact languages have flourished, notably Cameroon Pidgin is spoken by about half the population, Cameroon Pidgin. However, we see that Cameroon, they have 2 official languages, French and English. Liberia, Africa's oldest republic, was founded in 1822 through the activities of the American Colonization Society, which wished to establish a homeland for former slaves. So American people, a colonial society, they wanted to use Liberia as their, as we have seen the Sierra Leone, case of Sierra Leone, actually the British philanthropist, they made Sierra Leone as a place for the slaves. In the same way, American colonial power, they choose Liberia as a place for the former slaves, and they deported slaves in Liberia. Within 50 years, it received some 13,000 black Americans as well as some 6,000 slaves recaptured at sea. The settlement became a republic in 1847 and adopted a constitution based on that of the USA. It managed to retain its independence despite pressure from the European countries during the 19th century scramble of Africa. Its population in 2002 was some 3.2 million, most of whom used Pidgin as their second language. But there was also a number of first language speakers in Liberia. Link with US, African American English are still very evident. So as you see in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, we see the American English is very prominent in Liberia. And there are some other parts in Africa. The scrambles of Africa, also called the partition of Africa or the conquest of Africa, was the invasion, occupation, division, and colonization of African territory by European powers during a short period known, known to historians as the new imperialism. There are some other part. Actually, this area or areas were divided to many European countries for the rise and fall of political power. Although English ships had visited East Africa from the end of the 16th century, systematic interest began only in the 1850 decades with the expedition of the interest of such British explorers as Richard Barton, David Livingstone, and John Speke. The Imperial British East Africa Company was founded in 1888, and soon afterward a system of colonial protectorate became established. While other European nations, Germany, French, Italy, vied with Britain for territorial uh, control. Actually, these are the islands. They were under many European rule who came in this area. Several modern states, each with a history of association with Britain, gave English official status, and when they gained independence, British language has thus played a major role in developing of these states, being widely used in government, in courts, in school, the media, and the other public domains. These islands, they got independent, but there was a growing tendency of using English language in education for development and for other areas of those islands. It has also been adopted elsewhere in this region as a medium of international communication, such as in Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Somalia. Again, we see another country, that is Botswana. Under British protection from 1885, the southern part of the country became part of the Cape Colony in 1895, the northern part becoming Bechuanaland. It received its independence in 1966. Population in 2002 was 1.5 million. English is the official language. In Botswana, English is the official language. In Kenya, the British colony from 1920, this country became independent in 1963 following a decade of unrest, the Mau Mau rebellion. English was the made official language, with Swahili, another language used in Kenya that is called Swahili, made a national language in 1974. English nonetheless retains an important role in the country, which had some 31 million people in 2002. So Mau uprising, also known as the Mau rebellion, the Kenya emergency and the Mau revolt, was a war in British Kenya colony between the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, also known as the Mau Mau, and the British authorities. So this is the history of Kenyan English. So Lesotho, here we see Lesotho. The population is 2.2 million and English is the official language. And also in Malawi, here English is an official language and its population is 10.5 million. It was also the British colony and they got independence in 1964. In case of Namibia, we see their population is 1.8 million and English is the official language. And they became the German protectorate, not English protectorate, in 1884. And also Tanzania got freedom in 1919. They had a population of 36 million and English was a joint official language with Swahili until 1967, then lost its status and as a national language, but it remains an important medium of communication. In case of Uganda, the English is the sole official language, but Swahili is also widely used in as the lingua franca. In case of Zambia, English is the official language. In case of Zimbabwe, English is the official language. In case of, we will not read more. So this is the scenario of the origin of English language used in this area. So we see the country that is Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda, Tanzania, Namibia, Malawi, Lesotho, Kenya, and these Liberia, Cameroon, Nigeria, Gambia, and Ghana, and Sierra Leone. So English, this area were occupied by the British, where this area and the nation were under the British rule, and apart from the British rule, the other colonial countries came in this area, but after getting independence, these countries use English as either official language or either associate official language. But in case of some other countries like Sierra Leone, we see another regional language, that is English based pidgin, that is Cryo is used, and in some countries we see the language Swahili that is also used in this area. So this is the origin of English language of the former colony in Africa. So thank you very much for attending the class, and if you have any questions